of Californians are living in areas that fail to meet federal air quality standards. But in order to ensure that we're on a path to clean air, we need the federal government to exercise its full authority under the Federal Clean Air Act. And the first critical step in that is really establishing the adequate standards and adequate goals. For this reason, we are very supportive of a more health protective standard for ozone, specifically a 60 parts per million standard. We also support establishing a secondary standard for vegetation protection. As has been noted by your own documents, the science is very clear regarding the adverse health impacts, and the list of impacts which have been shared today and even in your documents: premature death, asthma, chronic bronchitis, acute bronchitis, diminished lung function, restricted activity days, chest pain, wheezing, the litany of health impacts. These are all too real for the thousands of Californian residents who suffer with these impacts, and for the millions who are affected because they either have to figure out a way to stay home from work to care for a sick child, maybe the employer who has to scramble to figure out who can cover for an employee who had to miss work because they themselves are sick or caring for a sick relative, for the teacher who has to reteach that lesson for a child who may have missed a week or two of school because of respiratory illnesses, or the nurse that gets inundated in the emergency room because of these impacts. Myself, having grown up in Southern California in the San Gabriel Valley in the 1980s, at a time when I think it was the Azusa ozone monitor was kind of the epicenter of the worst air in the nation, oftentimes cited as that. Admittedly, at that time, there was no awareness or understanding for myself or my parents about the connection between what was out there in the air and what was happening inside my lungs. If you had called my parents, though I had experienced bronchitis on a regular basis and respiratory problems, if you asked them, do any of your children have asthma, they would have said no. Because they did not know. And I'm sure that that's true for many parents even today. It was one day when I was trying to walk home from school and trying to get home and not being able to, and then it being very real, being at the clinic that day on a respiratory machine, seeing a man next to me who was on a much more complicated machine and wondering whether that was the future that I had to look forward to. And now knowing that my own nieces and nephews who are growing up in Riverside are also suffering with asthma. Now, mind you, these are parents like my own and my sister and the thousands of parents who have children suffering with asthma. They're largely inclined to work hard and have a self-reliance ethic. They're not necessarily looking for help from government. But in this case, they're confronting the realities of their own capacity, of their own ability to control the situation, knowing that they need government's help. For that reason, we really urge the EPA to adopt the 60 parts per million standard. We want to join with these parents and with all the thousands of parents to really protect these children. And the great news there is that we know that there is a lot that can be done. And the experience here in California and other places has shown that we can do it and that it can be cost effective. And so I just want to urge you that the time is right, and we really appreciate you being here. And for the thousands of parents who couldn't come, please adopt that standard. Thank you.
Thank you very much.